There's a single company that manages over $10 trillion, more money than the GDP of every country on Earth except two. It's a top shareholder in Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and hundreds of other major corporations, and it helps governments manage financial crises when markets break down. That company is BlackRock. But here's what most people miss. BlackRock doesn't just manage money, it shapes how companies behave and how markets actually function. After watching this video, you'll understand the one mechanism that makes this level of control possible, and why BlackRock isn't just powerful, it's quietly becoming unstoppable. This is a company that manages $10 trillion in assets. That's larger than the GDP of every country on Earth, except the United States and China. It doesn't just manage money, it owns pieces of almost everything you buy, use, or invest in. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, ExxonMobil, Pfizer, JP Morgan Chase. The list goes on and on. BlackRock is also the company that the Federal Reserve turned to during the COVID-19 crash. In 2020, when markets were collapsing, the Fed hired BlackRock to buy assets on its behalf. That means BlackRock wasn't just investing, it was controlling the flow of trillions of dollars of emergency money, deciding who wins and who loses. Player, referee, and scoreboard all at once. If you think your 401k protects you, think again. When you own an index fund, or even a mutual fund, you might believe you control your shares. You don't. BlackRock does. It votes your shares. It approves mergers. It shapes corporate policies. And with $10 trillion under management, those votes matter. Here's the part that's almost impossible to wrap your head around. BlackRock isn't just big, it's structurally unstoppable. The more the world relies on index investing, ETFs, and passive funds, the more voting power BlackRock accumulates. And this accumulation is accelerating faster than anyone expected. Now you might be thinking, this sounds scary, but how does it actually affect me? You'll see exactly how BlackRock's quiet dominance touches everything from the price of your airline tickets to the cost of prescription drugs to the future of AI, social media, and even the movies you watch. To understand BlackRock, you need to start with scale. In 1988, BlackRock didn't exist. Today, it manages $10 trillion in assets. To put that into perspective, that's 40% of US GDP. And it's not alone. Vanguard manages $8 trillion. State Street manages $4 trillion. Together, these three firms control nearly $22 trillion in global assets, roughly 90% of US GDP. But BlackRock is the largest. It's the central hub of this financial web. Unlike banks, it doesn't take deposits or make loans. Instead, it manages money for pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, insurance companies, universities, and individual investors through ETFs and mutual funds. And with its proprietary system, it decides how that money is invested, how shares are voted, and indirectly, how companies behave. Here's why that matters. When BlackRock owns 7% of every major airline, bank, or tech company, it doesn't care who wins. It benefits no matter what. Airlines compete less aggressively. Banks charge higher fees. Tech companies consolidate power. BlackRock isn't just investing, it's shaping markets from the inside. You should know that. There are 5 mechanisms that make BlackRock quietly unstoppable. Mechanism 1, concentrated ownership. BlackRock doesn't need to own entire companies. It owns significant stakes in almost every major corporation. Apple, 6.8%, Microsoft, 7.1%, Amazon, 6.2%, Tesla, 5.6%, Alphabet, 6.4%, Meta, 7.5%. Across banking, energy, pharmaceuticals, consumer goods, the percentages are all in the 6 to 8% range. That may sound small, but in a world of diffuse ownership, these stakes are often the largest single voting bloc. And when BlackRock owns multiple competitors in the same industry, competition decreases. Prices rise, profits increase. Investors gain, BlackRock gains. You pay more, even if you're not aware of it. Economists call this common ownership theory. Research shows airline ticket prices are 3 to 7% higher because BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street own significant portions of all major airlines. Banking interest rates and fees rise for the same reason, and it's happening silently. Mechanism 2, proxy voting power. When you own a share through an index fund, BlackRock votes for you. Millions of shares, thousands of companies, millions of votes cast at over 16,000 meetings annually. Executive pay, board elections, mergers, environmental policies, all decided by one company. Larry Fink, BlackRock's CEO, has personal policy views on ESG, climate change, and social governance. Because BlackRock votes $10 trillion in assets, these views become corporate policy across America. This isn't democratic, it's a form of of oligarchy, one man's preferences amplified to billions in economic power. Mechanism 3. Aladdin, the secret weapon. Aladdin is BlackRock's proprietary software platform. It manages risk for $21 trillion in assets globally, including clients outside BlackRock. Pension funds, insurers, sovereign wealth funds all rely on Aladdin for recommendations. This is market control on a systemic level. If Aladdin flags a risk, hundreds of institutions act simultaneously. Markets move, prices fluctuate. BlackRock sees everything before anyone else does. And yes, it earns billions licensing Aladdin, even if clients lose money. Visibility equals power. Mechanism 4. Government influence and the revolving door. BlackRock alumni populate the Treasury, the Federal Reserve, and the White House. Government policies often align with BlackRock's interests, not coincidentally. During the COVID-19 crisis, the Fed relied on BlackRock to purchase corporate bonds and ETFs. BlackRock was paid to manage its own ETFs with Fed money. Conflicts of interest? Absolutely. Legal? Apparently. Profitable? Definitely. Mechanism 5. Information dominance. BlackRock knows more about the global financial system than almost anyone else. Between its direct investments, Aladdin's data, and political connections, it can predict trends, position assets, and profit before the rest of the market reacts. This information asymmetry is invisible power, and it's growing. If you're finding this eye-opening, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of these deep dives into how money and power really work. Back to the story. You've heard of Standard Oil. John D. Rockefeller owned 91% of U.S. oil refining. It was illegal, eventually broken up. You've heard of J.P. Morgan Trust. Interlocking directorates controlled entire industries. That empire was constrained by the 1913 Clayton Act. BlackRock, it's all of that combined, without technically breaking any laws. It controls ownership, voting power, risk management, government alignment, and market information across virtually every sector. And it's quiet. There's no public outcry, no obvious monopoly. It doesn't need to be visible to have influence. Why it matters for you? If you own stocks, BlackRock votes them. If you own an index fund, BlackRock decides corporate governance. Airlines, banks, tech, pharma, they all respond to BlackRock's incentives. Workers lose. Common ownership suppresses wages. Consumers lose. Prices rise. Small businesses lose. Competition dies. Innovation slows. And the more passive investing grows, the more BlackRock's influence becomes absolute. In 2000, active funds managed 95% of assets. By 2024, index funds manage over 50%. By 2030, projections show 70% of U.S. equity could be in passive funds. At that point, BlackRock's power isn't just enormous, it's unstoppable. Now, BlackRock is expanding beyond stocks. Private equity, infrastructure, real estate, it could eventually own highways, bridges, even utilities. It's not just an asset manager, it's becoming a de facto global infrastructure owner while remaining legally compliant. The question isn't whether BlackRock is powerful, it obviously is. The question is whether any regulation, democracy, or competition can keep up. So, BlackRock isn't evil. Larry Fink isn't a villain. Employees aren't conspiring. They're operating in a system that rewards scale, concentration, and visibility. The problem is the system itself. By now, you should have understood. You should understand capitalism is quietly changing. One company isn't just part of the economy. It owns, votes, predicts, and profits across it. You have a choice. You can accept it and benefit, invest in index funds, ride the returns, divest and invest actively, avoiding funds that consolidate power, push for political reform to restore competition and voting rights. Each has costs, each has implications. Doing nothing guarantees that BlackRock's $10 trillion becomes $20 trillion. Its 7% stakes in every major company will rise. Its influence will be absolute. BlackRock is quietly becoming unstoppable. And once you see it, there's no going back. If you found this video eye-opening, like and subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to understand just how quietly powerful this company has become.